Welcome to the Degenerate Dillon podcast, where Dillon has you covered with everything from spreads to futures to prop bets. Follow him every weekday as we pick daily best bets using stats, analytics, and a little bit of luck. Now here's your host, Degenerate Dillon himself, Dillon Nelson.
How we doing? It is Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. We have officially started March basketball. Well, that was kind of officially started on Monday, but today marks a lot of starts for bigger tournaments. The ACC started yesterday. The Big East starts today. The Big 12 starts today. I mean, there's a lot of gray basketball that's coming on to the Pac-12 starts today. Just a lot of really good basketball. I couldn't really type a rundown and then, we'll run through all of the games, not necessarily in a real quick fashion. We'll stop and talk about each game that I like today. But let's touch base on yesterday. Miami beat Pittsburgh. I had Pittsburgh covering the line there, and Miami just came out of nowhere. This team has sucked all year long, came out of nowhere and beat Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's best player, I can't Champagne. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he came out and just could not shoot yesterday. And anytime your best player can come out and just have an awful day, teams like Miami have a chance to beat you, especially in the first round. I mean, Pittsburgh wouldn't be playing Miami in the first round of the ACC tournament if they weren't that good either. So Miami won 79-73. Another game in the ACC yesterday, Duke played Boston College. I took Boston College to cover the 13. Probably shouldn't have done that, knowing that Duke is playing their best basketball of the year right now. They look really good. They look like Duke right now. It's kind of impressive to see how Coach K's put these guys on the right, and they've got a really good game, a really good test today, but we will get into that later on. Couple of tickets punched yesterday. Drexel punched their ticket by beating Elon 63-56. Mount St. Mary's punched their ticket by beating Bryant yesterday. Cleveland State punched their ticket by beating Oakland. Oral Roberts on a last-second shot beat North Dakota State to punch their ticket. And Gonzaga beat BYU to punch their ticket, as if their ticket wasn't punched already, being the number one and undefeated team in the country. That was a really interesting game. I didn't stay up and watch the whole entire game. I really enticed me when I saw BYU was up at halftime, especially by double digits. But it's Gonzaga, folks. And they did what Gonzaga does, and they came out in the second half and won the game. Because that's just what Gonzaga does, especially in the West Coast Conference. Yeah, sorry. Just not going to happen, BYU. BYU will be in the tournament this year as an at-large, though. So they've at least got March to look forward to, and they probably won't have to play Gonzaga again, at least not in the first couple rounds, I would think. But moving on to today, like we talked about, Miami beat that Pittsburgh team yesterday. They play Clemson today. The line is set at Clemson by 9. I'm taking Clemson today. I'm sorry. I still don't believe in this Miami team. I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't care if Pittsburgh's guy couldn't shoot, couldn't hit a house. I don't care. Miami is not the play here. 9 points is a pretty good cushion for a team that just played yesterday and played well. But I don't think 9 points is a whole lot to where I wouldn't take Clemson here. Clemson's a great team. They're outstanding. They've played great all year. They'll be in March regardless of what happens in this tournament. Take Clemson and the 9. They'll cover here. They'll beat Miami. Pretty simple. Pretty simple stuff. There's no against the spread numbers I want to run. They're pretty much the same. Clemson 11-10. Miami 12-12. I don't care to get into it real heavy. The last time they played, Miami lost 66-58. That's 8 points. I mean, come on. This is the ACC tournament. Clemson's going to turn it on. They're going to cover this. Easy. Second game of the day that I like is Butler and Xavier in the Big East tournament. Line is Xavier favored by 6.5. The last two games these teams played each other in, Xavier handled business and covered the spread. Butler was favored by 2 in the first game. Xavier won 68-55. Second game, Xavier was favored by 11, and they covered that by beating Butler 63-51. That is such an odd shift, and it wasn't. See, the first time they played was January 30th. The second time they played was literally 20 days after that. And look at the point spread change. A 13-point swing in 20 days. That tells you how bad Butler played from that stretch. And Butler has not picked. I mean, they won 2 games the last couple of weeks against Villanova and Seton Hall. Those are good wins. I just don't. I don't know. And it looks like ESPN's got 6.5 as the play here. I don't think that's the play. I think Xavier covers the 6.5. You could probably put a little bit of money on the money line and make a little money on the return. I just look at 2 simple numbers here. Points per game. Xavier scores 75.5. Butler scores 63. Simple as that. Simple as that. I read an article this morning that came out on Action Network where a guy liked the under of 133 in this game. I don't like that. If you go back and look at their previous games, both teams, the last game that Butler played, they scored 73 points. The game before that, they scored 73. Xavier, on the other hand, the last game they played, they scored 66 points. The game before that, they scored 66 points. 133 divided by 2 is 66. Both teams scored 66 points or above in their last 2 games. I don't like that. If anything, I was going to play the over here. Yes, these offenses are struggling as of late, but the last 2 games show they could be on the uptick. I don't like that over-under play. I think the play here is Xavier to cover the 6.5, and that's what I'm going to play today. Second game of the day is Duke and Louisville. Louisville is a very good team. 13-6. They've missed some games due to COVID. Blah blah blah. They're a good team, but there's a reason Duke is favored here. 2.5. Not a huge point swing here. But Duke is playing incredible right now. Like I said earlier, they look like Duke. And when Duke looks like Duke, they don't lose to Louisville. They just don't. I think the play here is to keep riding Duke in the momentum at 2.5. They had a bad little stretch these last 3 games before they beat Boston College, but they're not going to lose to Louisville. Just not going to happen. It's ACC tournament time. K's got these guys rolling through this tournament trying to get to March. And they're a long shot to win the ACC tournament, but I took that. I took that yesterday before all the ACC action started. I like Duke in this. I like Duke in the ACC tournament a lot, especially in the profit margin. It's there. But yeah, my play here is to take Duke and the 2.5. I think it's easy money today. I think so. Next game, Notre Dame and North Carolina. North Carolina has also, it's weird because at one point in the season, Duke and North Carolina, they looked similar as far as not looking great, not looking like the Blue Buds they are. And then they both just out of nowhere picked it up. North Carolina more than Duke, but they both just picked it up and ran with it. And it was amazing to see. This game spread is, excuse me. Let me grab that for y'all. North Carolina should be favored in this game by if I could find it. Yeah, North Carolina by 6.5. I think that's a play. I think North Carolina's a play here. Notre Dame's, Notre Dame's okay. They've played okay of late. They've shown they can play with the big dogs when they have good shooting nights. It's kind of an iffy play for me. North Carolina has shown the last month and a half that they are here, that they're going to make March. That they're not North Carolina of old, or I guess you could say North Carolina of what they usually are. But they are still a decent team that's going to make March. Notre Dame, on the other hand, is not. Yes, they've had games here and there where they've shot the ball well and beat teams they probably shouldn't have. I don't think that happens tonight. I think North Carolina continues their run. 6.5 seems like a decent amount of points for North Carolina. I think North Carolina can win this game by 8 or 10. I really do. It's up to you whether you want to run that. I think the play is North Carolina at 6.5. You could also make a case for Notre Dame plus a 6.5. I'm just going to roll with North Carolina on this. I think they're playing really well. I don't like Notre Dame a whole lot this year. Let's see if we can find the last time they played. Yeah, I don't have that number. I'm not going to make y'all wait for that. North Carolina's a play here. Just my opinion. Oklahoma versus Iowa State tonight in one of the first Big 12 games. Iowa State's terrible. They're so bad. They're real bad. Like really bad. And Oklahoma's played like crap. I mean, what are they in their last 10 games? Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row and haven't covered those 4. I think they turn it on tonight, the Big 12 tournament. I think they turn it on tonight against Iowa State, against a terrible, awful, god-awful Iowa State team. 11 points doesn't seem like enough to me. I think the play is Oklahoma at 11. I think everybody would agree with me on that. Oklahoma can get going. They are one of the better teams in the Big 12, regardless of their last 4 games. I mean, hell, they won 5 out of 6 before this 4 game, which they're not a bad team. They just hit a bad stretch. Maybe this week off that they've had before the tournament started has done them well. That's going to be my play tonight. Oklahoma to cover the 11. I think it's an easy pick. It looked like the line moved up to 11.5 too and went back down to 11. I think if it stays at 11, I think you should play that for sure. Let's see if we can look at some of the other games. Those are the games I'm going to bet. But there is other good basketball games on today that most people. I mean, Syracuse, NC State. I didn't like that game. I don't like the 2.5. Yeah, I would probably take Syracuse with the 2.5 there. But I just don't like it. I don't like the feeling of that game. So I didn't bet it. Marquette, Georgetown, kind of same thing. Georgetown's been playing decent of late. They're both not great Big East teams. Marquette's been playing okay. They've been playing maybe a little less up to par than they did earlier in the year. They're favored by 3. I don't know. I think the play would be Georgia to cover the 3. I don't know. Leave that up to y'all. Another one, Washington State, Arizona State. Yeah, Washington State's not great. They're not one of the better teams in the Pac-12, but Arizona State's been playing like crap recently. They're 10-13. I mean, they're not a good team, which is very underwhelming because Arizona State was supposed to be one of the better teams in the Pac-12 this year. So I'm not going to bet that one either. Kansas State at TCU, that was one I was going back and forth. I really like TCU with 3.5. I think that's a good number for TCU bettors. But still just didn't like this game. I didn't like it. I just wasn't going to bet it. We'll see. That might change as Tip gets closer. We'll see what happens. A&M Vanderbilt, another game. I didn't really like. Vanderbilt's favored by 1. A&M played really good in Fayetteville against Arkansas, led most of the game, almost won that game. But Vanderbilt's been playing okay recently. Scottie Pippen Jr. is here. I don't like it. I feel like the play is probably Vanderbilt because Texas A&M hasn't shown any consistency this year, at least hasn't shown what they did in Bud Walton Arena this last weekend. I don't know if they can do that again, but yet they could come out and do it again. I don't know if they found a groove. Don't know. Just not going to bet it. Stay safe. Don't bet that game. DePaul Providence tonight. Providence by 7. I could see Providence covering that line. Didn't like it, though. DePaul's not a great team. Providence isn't a great team either. They're okay. Didn't like that one. Penn State favored by 6.5 against Nebraska tonight. Didn't like that one either. I don't know. There's a lot of really good basketball. If you're a college basketball fan, today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is going to be fantastic. And next week's going to be, and the next week after that. I mean, this is literally the time, if you're a college basketball fan, to just sit back, relax, and enjoy what's on your television. But there is some games I didn't like as far as a handicapper. I just didn't like those games. But that'll be it for me, man. I'm really glad we're in March. It's awesome. It's sweet. We will have Jackson Collier of the JC Hoops Pod and Rivals.com back on the show next week to fill out some brackets. It's almost that time. We are almost here, folks. It is almost bracket fill out time. I didn't get to do it last year. I'm chomping at the bit. Chomping at the bit to fill out some brackets. I've been watching bracket specials on YouTube all week long. I just can't wait. I can't wait. I don't even know how many. I might fill out 10. Might fill out 20. I don't know. Who knows? I might fill out 1. Me and JC get on here, fill out the 1. I'm going to smack it on the page, and I ain't going to touch it. That's going to be the main one. Whatever the one I fill out with Jackson will be my main bracket that I stick to. Am I going to make one where Arkansas wins a national championship? Yeah, because hey, the bracket fill out is the right time to be a little bit of a homer. But we'll see how I feel as far as when me and Jackson fill one out, because I'm going to be realistic on that one. But that'll be it for us today. I really appreciate y'all watching, man. You can catch us here on weekdays every day but Friday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I take off, hang out with the wife, do all that jazz. But the weekdays before that, I will be here every week in the morning. We'll holler at you tomorrow. Peace.